Now that is the truth of the process, and I'll get right to you, Patty. That is the truth of the process if we think of it sequentially. It's important, however, it gets even dicier because it's important to understand that to think of it sequentially is merely to fall down the rabbit hole and begin walking the dream. That in fact, sequentiality is a fiction and simultaneosity is the only truth. Or to put it another way, it's all happening at the same time. So you can only imagine that you're God-godding in the process of becoming what God is next going to be if you consider the process within the framework of time and space, or sequentiality. If you consider the process outside of that framework, everything falls apart in your construction. Unless it doesn't. Unless you can live inside of what Conversations with God calls the divine dichotomy, where two apparently contradictory truths exist simultaneously in the same space. Where it's not a question of either or, but both and. Where we say, okay, it's both and. Where we say, okay, everything is happening simultaneously and it is happening sequentially. Home with God calls that condition sequentaneous experience. In an effort to help us to formulate through the awful limitation of words a way to hold this dichotomy and to articulate it, God gave us a new word, sequentaneous. A thing is sequentaneous. That is, it is happening sequentially and simultaneously in the same moment. Which is outside of the logical human mind to comprehend. Unless it's not. The example that I use to help the human mind understand this is that good old CD-ROM with the chess game on it, where it's on the CD-ROM, it's on the disk, all of the moves are on there, and they've been, in a sense, played out simultaneously. That is, they all exist on the disk. And yet you move through the disk sequentially by taking the whole of it and dividing it into its cajillion individual parts and considering them one at a time. Now, how is such a holding of reality helpful? One might ask. How is such an understanding of ultimate reality useful or practical in the living of day-to-day life on the earth? Or is it in fact all just new thought gobbledygook? You know, that kind of stuff. What the hell is he talking about? What's that got to do with this afternoon and tomorrow and getting on the airplane and going home and going back to work? I mean, what the hell? Well, in my own life, this revelation has had some very practical outcomes and impacts and results. Number one, because I know that it has already happened, that it is occurring simultaneously, I don't worry nearly so much about the events that are apparently happening sequentially. Because I know that the outcome, the ultimate outcome, is assured. Now, fear will attempt to convince you that the ultimate outcome is in doubt. And this doubt is what creates your greatest enemy. For if you doubt the ultimate outcome, you must doubt God. And if you doubt God, you must live the rest of your life in fear and guilt. You could, of course, change your mind about all of this and reject the fear. And if you did that, I tell you, you would live as the Buddha did, as Jesus did, as have all the saints you have ever idolized. But as with those saints, somebody will come along and not believe you. I mean, they will hear your words, but they will not listen. They'll even repeat your words, but they will add to them. Then they will ask you, how is it that you can have what I cannot find? Then they will become jealous. Soon their jealousy will turn to rage. And in their anger, they will tell you that it is you who do not understand God. And the oneness of all things that is the illusion. And if that does not tear you from your joy, they will try to harm you. And when you tell them it does not matter, even death cannot interrupt my joy, nor tear me from my truth, they will kill you. And when you die peacefully, when you demonstrate incredible peace and calmness with regard to your own death, then they will call you saint and love you again. Now, is this the experience of life you want to create right now? Because if you say, yeah, I can do that, be sure you know all the implications. And the important thing is, don't take yourself too seriously. Or the other people either, for that matter, who are doing this stuff to you. So I want to tell you that it gets a little dicey here, just so you know that you're, walking in new territory. Because every day you're creating your next grandest vision of what you choose divinity to be and to look like. And then you're stepping into that. And again, the churches of the world, and I'm most familiar with the Christian churches, so forgive me that I don't feel deeply backgrounded in the Jewish tradition or the Islamic tradition or some of the other traditions, the Hindu tradition and so forth. But in the Christian tradition, the churches say that Jesus was God made man. Well, that's exactly who you are. The only difference is that the Christians say it begins and ends with Jesus, even though Jesus himself said, I and the Father are one, and we are brothers. Well, if I and the Father are one, and we are brothers, that means that you and the Father are one. So when you get to the question of who and what is this God that I am an individuation of, and if we turn to God and ask God itself that question, God, who are you that I am seeking to demonstrate myself as? God says, who am I? Who am I? And we say, no, you don't understand. I'm asking you. God says, you don't understand. I'm asking you. And we say, no, but you're the one with all the answers. And God says, but you're the one with all the answers.